I am so happy to be here. You have no idea. Thank you all for coming, family and friends, old and new, and thank you, Peg, for inviting me. I'm really delighted. And I know I'm the last reader, and you guys have been sitting so patiently and quietly, so I'm going to jump right in. I'm going to read from a story in my collection. This story is called Rate My Life, and I'm going to read from a little bit into the story. So what you need to know is Nora, the main character, has a boyfriend named Tad, who does not appear in this story, and she lives in Santa Barbara, and her mother has recently come to visit on the way to rehab, and she's come looking for a bikini. Her mother has come looking for a bikini. And she's now at the beach with a boy from her university, who is not her boyfriend. Okay, here we go. Another amazing, boring, May blue sky, Aaron observed. Nora leaned toward the windshield, looked up and out over the ocean. She couldn't agree more. They were parked in Aaron's VW camper at Butterfly Beach. Supposedly they were studying for the final. Nora had her books zipped in the backpack at her feet. Aaron's elbow jutted out his window, and he held a perfect Granny Smith in his hand. A jar of peanut butter rested between his thighs, which were thicker than Nora's. "What kind of art do you make?" she asked. "Conceptual stuff. I'm interested in the universality of foibles." Nora nodded as if she knew what he was talking about. "I had a piece in a gallery in downtown LA. It had this found object like an arthritic finger, only it was driftwood. It was totally amazing, like an arthritic what the fuck. And I painted the canvas with these vague, blurred flags from the G7, and then I copied random candy and alcohol ads and repeated images of Ronald Reagan, and then wheat pasted the whole thing together." Aaron removed a Swiss Army knife from his glove box, and while he spoke, he sliced the apple against his palm, dipped a crescent in peanut butter, and passed it to her. "I'm only in school for the parental aid. I try to take classes that will inspire my vision, like satire, because art is about disruption." His clear violet eyes, magnified by his glasses, remained fixed on her face. His voice, confident and sonorous, was perfect for a makeout song. The confident way he spoke about his ideas made her nervous. If he asked about her, like why was she in school or what she wanted, Nora would have no idea what to say. School and work were ends in themselves. She liked baking. She was good at it. So good, in fact, that her boss wanted her to help open a new bakery. Plus, she liked reading things that she wouldn't have known enough to choose on her own. Thankfully, Aaron never asked about her, which was fine, because nearly the entire rear of his van had been converted into a sleeping platform, and Nora could feel its insistent presence like a cat rubbing against her shin. Aaron slept beneath that orange Mexican blanket. His clothing, stuffed into the net hammock slung along the window, gave the van a musty animal smell. 3 saucepans hung from hooks behind the driver's seat, and she imagined the friendly clatter every time he turned a corner. He had a case of top ramen tucked under the bed. Aaron was a gypsy. "So, Nora, I've been feeling artistically gummed up after the G7 piece. I haven't been able to make anything, and this satire class, it's so lower division. It's like meta, it's like self-parody. And then I saw your amazing shoulders and your amazing studentness. I bet you had a gap between your teeth, corrected with orthodontia." Nora was so enthralled by his passion, by his penetrating stare, that she didn't even correct his assumption. She watched the green sliver of apple peel in his teeth as he went on about his plans. "My next piece is coming from that reductio ad absurdum talk, you know, like the lecture hall and the professorial professor and you so co-ed and I'm like this visionary. Art has to do more. Art has to do more than masturbate reality onto a canvas. I want to expose singular foolishness." Nora bit her thumbnail. So you want to satirize satire? Bigger. I want to hash it up. He set the peanut butter jar behind him on the tiny stove. He leaned close to her, his hands resting on her knees, squeezing her flesh. Let's go to the movies. He smelled mostly like peanut butter, but also like his van, only stronger and wild, as if he spent his nights on the forest floor. After the kiss, he pulled out his wallet. Let's upset the paradigm. Forehead to forehead, he extracted a glassine envelope from between receipts and taco coupons. This, my little friend, is window pane LSD. Nora leaned away, and Aaron followed, holding her wrist in the same gesture that Tad used, only Aaron didn't call her chicken, and Nora did feel the plummeting elevator sensation in her spine. I love that you're afraid. That's perfect. It's totally mild. You know, it will just open the vessels in your brain. He made a sound like a small boy imitating a bomb. The sun angled in the van, lemon yellow and sweet. His large hands drew together in front of her face like two leggy spiders, fingertips to fingertips. Everything will connect and make sense, I promise. Nora's heart boomed in her chest. She'd never thought of taking LSD. Her main knowledge about hallucinogens came from a prevention film with a terrible song that she'd seen in 6th grade, and a story she'd overheard her mother tell at parties, something about peyote and nearly driving off the road in pursuit of a moonbeam. The movie was a joke. Her mother's story always garnered a laugh. Aaron leaned in to kiss her again. He told her it would be the most intense morning of her sweet young life. Say you will. Be my muse. She glanced at her watch, 10:30, then at the cracked clock on his dashboard, then at the boring blue sky. Tad was on his century bike ride and wouldn't be home until well after 6. Though she couldn't quite believe it, Nora was basing her decision on time. When Aaron demonstrated sticking out his tongue, Nora responded with hers and felt a bitter prick like Parmesan cheese where the gelatin dissolved. They stretched out on the sleeping platform, and Aaron instructed her to be alert. Coming on was the tingly best. Looking up at the sagging, water-stained liner of his van, Nora felt hyper-aware. She noticed the weary zzz of a fly hitting the window, the itch of the blanket against her bare arms, the heat of Aaron lying beside her, not touching any part of her but the back of her hand. Aaron told her it was important to set a tone, to build your base of happy thoughts, like drinking milk mixed with a bit of olive oil before a night of partying. She told him about her mother's new rehab bikini. Have I heard of her? Is she a celebrity? Nora shook her head. She called me with the address, told me to send her a swag package so people know she's loved. Wow. He squeezed her hand and said in a solemn voice, That's tragic and absurd. She rolled onto her side. Aaron curled around her. He got her. When she told Tad about Ruby's bikini, he'd roared, Perfect! As if they were talking about someone else's mother. When she didn't laugh too, Tad had said, Oh, come on, what do you expect? It's your mother. Exactly, Nora had thought. What exactly does swack mean? Sealed with a kiss. They lay together, Aaron mouthing the words, sealed with a kiss. Sealed with a kiss. Sealed with a kiss. He whispered it between kissing her, fast, then slow. He sang it into her mouth, shouted it, said it with an accent, cried it, punched it in the air, smooched it out, and barked it like a seal. They both barked, laughing and rolling around on the bed. Arf, arf, sealed with a kiss. Stop. He pressed his finger to her lips. Now say, yellow. She did. Over and over until the word ran together in a long string of nonsense. Aaron pressed his palm against her heart. Everything important will happen right here. Nora heard the water sparkle, quivery pops like a bowl of cereal. Snap crackle, she said, and Aaron nodded. They wandered down the beach where gulls pierced the air with their wings and cries. A red frisbee trailed long ribbons of light. It felt as if she were standing still, and all the dogs, people, and children were gliding past, rolling by for the Queen's pleasure. Her cheeks ached. Her smile was so wide that she worried her teeth would sunburn. Looking up at Aaron, she saw he was talking, but his words sounded like rhythmic collisions, wave upon wave. Her heart backflipped in her chest. She took off, pounding the sand with her bare feet, pumping her arms, Aaron beside her. Black oysters of crude freckled the shore. The water, the color of soap mouthwash, flew up around her ankles in tiny blisters that threatened to cut her open. They swam, they must have, because her hair was damp, and when she pulled the clump into her mouth, she tasted salt. It was a great comfort to chew on her hair. She'd been broken of the habit by her first-grade teacher. Lumpy, short Mrs. Hopewell tied Nora's hair back every morning and gave her a Cherry Smith Brothers cough drop at the end of the day if she successfully resisted the temptation of chewing. The cherry taste, right this minute, felt huge in her mouth. Nora spit up into the sky and dodged it coming back down. She yearned to hug the little girl who yearned to please Mrs. Hopewell with her conditional smile. She yearned to hug the little girl who arranged lilies in an empty wine jug for her dead cat. Erin's fingertips grazed her wet cheeks. She pulled the hair from her mouth and asked for a cough drop. He took her hand, and they ran back to the van to rest in the sun beating through his windows. They nibbled uncooked ramen noodles dipped in peanut butter and kissed with food in their mouths, sharing like hungry babies. Taking off their clothes seemed unbelievably complicated. The way the zipper teeth, one by one, disconnected was funny and sad. They sat forever, cross-legged with their spines growing limp, their eyes rigid, and their sandy knees touching. And I'll stop there.